Welcome everybody to episode 3 here on YouTube and episode 14 here of Optimize Your Life on Instagram. I'm super excited to be with you guys tonight. As always, my guests seem to be just keep climbing the ladder and the potential of just greatness and so much value coming with my guests here as we continue to go week by week, show by show. I would like to welcome, before we get into anything tonight, I'd like to welcome my guest, Dennika Sharan, out of Nanaimo, British Columbia. Dennika, how are you tonight?
I am grooving, Dylan. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. You know, Dennika, I want to make sense of a couple things here. With Optimize Your Life, I mean, as self-explanatory as it might sound, what I'm looking for is different makers in the world and people who are obviously making an impact in their own world, whatever you have it. And when I connected with you, you know, one thing I really saw, and for the tuners that are tuning in here tonight, one thing you're going to learn real quick about Dennika is she is a life coach, she's a mentor, she's a spiritual being, and above it all, she's just a great person. And when I started to chat with Dennika, you know, I was quick to see that she really wants to just help make a difference in people's lives, however she can, just by her own presence and who she is and what she brings to the table day to day. So when I started to chat with Dennika, you know, one thing it was transparent as ever is that you know, she even helped me a little bit about the idea. And yes, we're going deep tonight, guys. We're going to dive into the idea of finding your purpose, how to live with more intent and more meaning. And then we're also going to talk about maybe an old myth, old adage, something that a lot of us have heard, definitely in the spirituality type of world, but mind, body, soul. But you know, for where there's maybe the front page of the newspaper meaning of that, I want to take a deeper dive. Well, I have the you know, caliber of someone like Dennika to be able to explain exactly why that's so important, and not only why it's so important, but how we can connect with it and potentially make and lead our lives in a better direction. So, Dennika, one thing I have to ask you right off the get-go here is, how have you got to where you are, being somebody who's making a difference in the lives of so many others? Because the last time I checked, there's maybe a few courses you can register for and, you know, some things you can learn, but to be a life coach is much more than that. And I want to know how you got to where you are, in by way of making an impact in so many people's lives now.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pretty big question, but if I sort of track it and trace it from childhood, it's essentially started there. And I grew up in a household where my mom was an alcoholic, and she was a substance abuser, and that was a very traumatic experience for me. And so then fast forward to when I decided to go to school and make something of my life, I chose to become a child and youth care worker. And I graduated, and I did that, and I loved it, and it was fulfilling. But then I just felt like there was something that I needed more healing within myself, because I didn't really do very much healing. So I quit that job, and I went and I worked in what's it called, the corporate world, which is completely different. But it was still helping people in a corporate sector, and that gave me the space to work on my own self and to do some deep inner work and some healing work. But then even with that, I was like, no, there's something more for me. I need to do something more. I've gone through all of this, all of these different experiences through life. Um, you know, the trauma that I experienced as a kid, I was a party girl and all of those crazy things. And then I've come to this place of wanting to help people find their way back home, because that's what I essentially had to do, is find my way back to myself, because I was getting rid of who I was because of everything that I experienced. But then I just found a place of love within. And one day, and me questioning, what am I here for? Why am I going through all of this? Why do I keep changing careers and what have you? I was at home and I was stretching and rolling out my muscles, which became a very key part of my self-care. And I got this intuitive download or intuitive hit or whatever you want to call it, that I was going to be a life coach and a yoga instructor. And I knew nothing about life coaching. I was like, what? And I had only been to one yoga class 10 years prior. So I was like, this doesn't make sense, but sure, we're going with it. And so I looked into life coaching, fell in love, was like, this is what I'm here to do, help people in a way that is moving forward with their life. They've already done that sort of therapy-based healing, but now it's like deeper sort of, where am I at now? How do I connect to myself on a deeper level, spiritually, mentally, physically, and move that forward with my life versus the unpacking of the trauma that we all obviously experience at one point in our life. And so, yeah, I took some courses, got certified in 2. I'm working towards my master certification in another, and it's great. I love it. I love helping people, and it's a joy to see people kind of have those insights, and I get to be the ones doing that.
Yeah, as I listen to you, one thing I can definitely reason with is the traumatic events that all of us are going to go through at one point in time. And obviously the first one that comes to mind with most of us is death, and if not death, and actually losing that significant person that means so much to us. Sometimes it's that very close person to us, like as you mentioned in your family, being an alcoholic and drugs and all the other stuff involved in the picture. And it's funny how nonetheless we're faced with a response, and the response ultimately is to go and choose that we're going to take that and all those traumatic events and choose that our outcome doesn't need to be traumatic to affect our own lives. And so we can go essentially be an inspiration in the world. For some, that's maybe a powerful word, but I'll reason with you and level with you and get as vulnerable as you have already here 5 minutes into the show. Lost my dad at the age of 17. And I have to say that, at that point in time in my life, wanting to play pro football and wanting absolutely everything in my life just to go the way that I envisioned it, which was to go to college and go do this. It's like all of a sudden you lose your dad, you start questioning yourself, you go through everything, as I'm sure you did as well. But you faced with that day, I, in my mind, can vividly remember, do I want to be somebody that uses this as the excuse as to why I didn't do what I wanted in life? Or am I going to make up my mind to ensure that this is a reason that, like, no, this is my calling. I'm going to go and exhaust absolutely every avenue I have for the rest of my life and make sure that I fulfill somebody else's legacy, right? And so I'm sure you connect a little bit with that, and just knowing that you had that choice too in your life. Can you recall that day, or maybe that point in time, specifically month in your life, where you were like maybe in the gutter and you were like, look, I want to actually use this to now go and make a difference in people's lives?
There's 2 moments that sort of stand out when you ask that question.
Yeah, maybe share one of the most empowering, as far as like what hits home the most with you when you think back to that moment where you're like, I'm going to be a game changer. I'm going to go be someone that is going to help others instead of letting my problems become somebody else's.
So it actually was when I was in school to be a child and youth worker. And I remember I was doing a placement in the second year, and there was a kid at the table, and I was doing some work with him. And just by me being there with him and him having someone to talk to, and then me realizing I just have to be there for somebody, and that will change their life, because he had nobody to talk to in the school that I was in that would even take the time. And so that was kind of the beginning of my self-discovery of knowing that I'm here to help people. And at that moment, it was obviously in that sort of that way with my child and youth care, but then it's obviously transpired into coaching. And I already gave you sort of that intuitive hit coaching moment where it was like, I was asking, I want more, there's something more for me. And that's when I got that hit. So it started, gosh, how old was I? I was young. I guess I'm still young, but it was in that moment with him and the impact that it had, that I was just there to listen to him and help him. And he was grateful for it. So
Yeah. For our viewers here tonight on episode 3 of Optimize Your Life, I have to ask you, wh- there's a lot of interpretations of a life coach nowadays, and a lot of us know that there's a lot of it going around. How do you think you separate yourself so far from others and what other people are doing? Is there a uniqueness to you that you could let our viewers in on how you go about your life coaching specifically and your mentorship? Obviously the spiritual side of it is unique on its own, right? Because that's unique to all of us in our own internal presence. But from the life coaching and the mentorship aspect of it, when you look at the market and social media of what's being put out there right now, how are you trying to separate yourself from the pack?
yeah, so that's a really good question. And thank you for asking it, because it is important. And I think the most important thing for me is that I'm in coaching. I want to coach people because I actually care about making a difference in their life. I want to serve people. I want to connect with people. And through that connection and that serving them, it allows them to change something, even if it's one thing in their life. I didn't get into life coaching because it's easy to do, or it's you can make a lot of money, or whatever the other reason. It's like I actually care and want to see you succeed. And I want to see your eyes light up when you have these insights. Or I want to see, hey, Dennika, it's been X amount of months and look how different my life is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what matters to me. And it's the connection piece. And a lot of coaches are missing that, I think, is that connection piece, like getting to know the person before signing them on. And that's what I do. I get to know people. And if there's nothing that I can help you with in getting to know you, then I don't want to coach you, because I'm not the person for you. I'm not the fit
Yeah.
for you, but I can refer you to somebody that I think you would be a good fit.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
that's what's different about me is I just
I,
really, really want to help people.
I'll take your back through and through on that, because most people, the money comes first to their eyesight, the person after. And what I'm hearing and seeing, because intuitively I can read it on you, is that it's the genuine care first, and if I can help you, and if I can help lead you to where you maybe want to go, and then obviously compensation afterwards, because we're human and we need to live. And I believe if you're great at something, you should get paid to do something 100%, because you know what, compensation, I think, is a necessity. But for the people that are truly making a difference, I mean, if I was the one writing the checks, hey, my best people are going to be paid and they're going to be compensated, because they're the ones that are ultimately making a difference in the lives of others, right? So I hope you're ready to tackle quite a big question, and something that I see people struggle with every single day. I have a laundry list that I couldn't even tell you, but as far as length and the amount of names on it that come to my mind when and myself, so I'm included on it. I've definitely a point in time in my life where I was going through much of the same thing, but talking about purpose, and let's just stop there for a sec. Let's just slow that right down. Purpose, finding your purpose. And for the people that are, I'm going to segue with this for you, and I'm going to segue for this for our viewers. But purpose, guys, is, to me, I've always interpreted it as, and take it how you want it, but that idea of when you wake up, why are we choosing to wake up? Why are you choosing to go and do what you do in your day? And what is that serving? Is it serving you in a way that you feel fulfilled and happy and internally, just lit up and excited about what you're doing? Or are you just going through the motions? Maybe it's a perfect time here on episode 3 to take a moment and hit pause for you guys that are tuned into our show here tonight, and ask yourself, are you happy with your life? Are you happy with where you're at, where your projected life is taking you? I think they're valid questions to ask yourself. And I'm super excited to have a professional on my show tonight here, Optimize Your Life, episode 3, to help us understand how we can find our purpose in life and how we can live more meaningful lives. So Dennika, take it from wherever you want. Maybe take it from wherever you think we should start, and and start to speak maybe to some things that helped you, but also things that you find have helped in your own coaching with your clients?
Yeah, it's a big question.
It's a big
And
question.
yeah. And I love that you said slow
I
down, because
I never like to make things easy here. I think part of my motive, or my vision statement on Optimize Your Life, is it should actually be to tackle some of the biggest things that are being just, sheltered underneath the heaviest rug we I could drag out, you know what I mean? And that's, to me, why I want and how I want to make a difference, is by addressing some of these things that I damn well know people are thinking about. So take it from wherever you want, though a big question. Maybe
yeah.
start small and we can grow it bigger.
Well, I would say, if there's, for the people watching it and you've been asking yourself, like, what is my purpose? And you're in this place of feeling lost and stuck, and what am I doing, and where is my life at, where am I going? Because I've been there and I know what that's like, and I'm sure most people have, is really sitting down with yourself and asking yourself, what do you want? And allow everything that comes from that question to surface, from something as simple as a family, to financial freedom, to my own business, to a successful career, like whatever that is. Like, you want little duck ceramics, you want whatever it is that you want, like, what do you want? And keep asking that question until it's clear as day. Like, you close your eyes and you see exactly what you want. And then from
I,
there,
I
yeah.
just I got to intervene for a sec. How do you fight the clutter that I'm sure a lot of people um, have just absolutely flood into their mind when they ask themselves that?
Well, when you're having a conversation, because we all have conversations in our head, when you're having a conversation in your head, it makes it easier to stay clouded. So choose to either write it out, have a conversation with yourself out loud, have a conversation with somebody else out loud. Say, hey, I need to talk about this. I don't need advice from you. I just need you to listen. I want to figure out, what do I want? Can I just verbal diarrhea, as they would say to you, right?
I love that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, so you can, yeah, write it out, talk out loud. A big thing that I did, because I'm very big on connecting with nature, and that helps me connect to myself, is I would go out and talk to the trees, or to the water, or to the wind, or the snow, whatever was there that day, that just talk. And just, what do you want? It changes, because it starts sort of superficial, and then it gets deep to what you really want. Well, that's what happened to me. It was like things and items and trips and all of those things, which are great. But when I got to the heart of it, was I wanted to feel free, and I wanted to feel love, and I wanted to live a life of intention, and that felt purposeful.
Mm-hmm.
But it took a little bit of time. I had to have the conversations, I had to do the journaling. And then in that, you figure out what you want. It's like, okay, well, what's in the way of that? So you have your list of 50 different things. What's getting in the way of me wanting that? And you'll start to see, and I don't want to kind of give it away, but you'll start to see it's yourself, your own limiting beliefs, your own inner critic, your own fear. And then that's when you start to tackle that fear. Well, is it true that I'm not good enough? Is it true that I'm unlovable? Is it true that I'm unworthy?
Mm-hmm.
And you keep going through that and look at it.
This comes
And then,
by nature, I'm sure, of professionally, dealing with your relationships in your life. I'm just thinking about some of the key trigger words I just heard. Um, how you're spending your day-to-day time, your spare time. There's a lot of stuff there to unpack, I'm sure. And that's just that surface level thought. As the host here of the show, so listening to what you have to say. Do you find that do you find that there's a reality too, that it kind of comes to are you living life for yourself, or are you living life for what others expect, or society, to meet societal pressures that are expected of us based on gender, based on age? How do you see that nowadays? I think that's very relevant to ask, because I'm going
Yeah.
off the record. Well, it's on record to say this, but there's a lot of shit out there, and we're being polluted every single day on social media. We don't know the difference between right and wrong anymore. What's good to be reading, what's bad.
I'd say what I would call sort of what you're talking about, I call it conditioning. So basically, from the moment we're essentially conceived, we're already being thrown all these different labels and roles and things and names that we're supposed to be. You see it as soon as a baby is born. Typically, if it's a girl, oh, you're so beautiful, you're going to make all the boys jealous one day. If it's a boy, same thing, or you're going to have a beautiful girl, like all these things. And that's just a gender thing, right? And then as you grow up, it's whatever your family's into, and they start putting those labels onto you, and then you attach yourself to the label and you start living through those labels and those expectations. And then you become an adult and it's like, hold on a second, is this really what I wanted? Is this how I wanted to live my life, or am I doing it because that's what I've been conditioned to believe that I should want? I had it all, as they say. Like I had the jobs, I had the play, like everything, but I wasn't happy. And when I like everything sort of, what do they call it? Tumbled to the ground by choice. Some people are forced into the tumbling to the ground, but I allowed my world to tumble down and left jobs and moved back home and did all these crazy things. That's when I was happiest, when I had none of these things that I thought I was supposed to have, because I was connecting more to me and I started going towards what made sense for me. And it felt like just me. It was all me. It wasn't what my grandparents wanted. It wasn't what my mom wanted, my sister, my aunts, my friends, my teachers, whoever. It's what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And the more that you step into that, the more power you hold for yourself, the easier it is to continue to do what you want, what makes sense to you, what's in alignment for you.
Mm-hmm. I have to contest with the question of, how do you look out for your own best self-interest while also keeping those significant relationships? You talked about your friends, your family, your colleagues, your closest colleagues at work. Like, yes, I think you're 100% right. You have to do it for you. And let's bring it back full picture. We're talking about how to wake up and live a more fulfilled life with more purpose. To wake up and to be a difference maker, to better this world. God damn it, I'm gonna say it. And I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're a plumber. If you're the plumber that gets up every single day and you go and do your job to 110%, you build great relationships, and you're an honest, genuine human being who treats your wife and your kids great, and you go to bed every single night, and that's you. Hey, then that's you, right? But I got to contest that you're trying to be that guy, you're trying to be that girl that's waking up and going to live your life with more purpose. But those relationships, we can't just fast track right by them. Oftentimes our parents and our closest friends and the people around us are the people that are going to be pulling us, and essentially, it's like we got a rope with how many people we choose to allow have impact us, and they're pulling us one way, the other way, and this way and that way. And what I find is, well, how do you live with purpose? Because so much of us are being manipulated by others that are so significant in our lives. I thought we're always supposed to listen to mom and dad. You know what I mean? We're always supposed to listen and take that advice from our best friend. But funny enough, and I only caught a quick, I've had a little experience with this in my life, but I think it's hard to live a life filled with purpose for yourself when you're listening to everything else on the outside.
It's hard.
It's hard for sure, but like, how do you do it for yourself while also still managing those very significant relationships in your life that obviously you don't want to just get rid of? um,
Yeah, it's a tricky line, and whatever I say, I just want to preface, take what resonates and leave the rest. Like, if whoever's listening to this, because everything that I say is not going to be true for you, and that's totally cool.
one of my
Um,
favorite things, I'm going to intervene for 1 sec, but about
yeah,
podcasting and about YouTube and about going live and seeing two people speak about real life stuff, is I think that's what people love, is that they love that it's just two opinions. It's just honest conversation. And that's actually pretty hard to find nowadays, is honest conversation, because I
mhm.
don't care how much money I make doing this. I absolutely am here to talk about the realest shit there is, and to bring on some real people and homegrown people that are difference makers. And I will say that word until people are sick of hearing it and tune me out. But you are, Dennika, and that's why you're here. And I'm going to say that again. But yeah, you're right. Take it for what it is.
Mhm.
Nonetheless, how do you cut that? How do you find that balance?
Yeah, so it's a tricky slope, because you have your people that you love and you care for, and they much so love and care for you in the same breath. However, the reason why there can be contention is because that person, dare I say it, is not living their life the way that they actually want to. And they may or may not be aware of it. It's on an unconscious level. So when you start to step out and make decisions different than what they're expecting of you, it sort of rubs their subconscious the wrong way if they're not aware enough, if they haven't done the work. So it does create some tension. But when you think about it, the most important person in your life is you.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, you are the only person who has been with you 24/7, 7 days of the week, whatever, 52 weeks of the year. You're the only constant. So if you don't create that space within and externally that you truly wholeheartedly love, you're going to not enjoy your life. You're not going to feel fulfilled. And those people that love you dearly, once they see that those steps that you're taking are lighting you up and you're happy, and you as I'm hoping, still choose to have them in your life, eventually they'll probably shift and be like, you know what? Didn't agree, wasn't happy, but I see where you're at now and you're so happy. And I love that for you.
Mhm.
And that's okay. And the other thing that comes up when I'm thinking about that is, we get to this place where you have to agree. If you disagree with someone, then you can't care about each other. And that's so untrue. You can have a disagreement and still care deeply about somebody and love them.
Mhm. In a
And we get,
constructed manner, absolutely.
yeah.
I think about all the relationships I've had with coaches in my life, bosses, business owners, whatever it may be, friends even, right? Depending on how significant of a conversation you're having. And it doesn't really matter. But if that person truly respects you and you have a good working relationship in any aspect of life and you respect each other, I find that there's no reason why you can't disagree and have a constructed conversation. Like, you know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah.
I think about significant others and stuff, in my life that I've had and have, and it's that same idea. Like, we're not gonna always want to do the exact same thing or whatever, but nonetheless, you can still have a constructed, honest conversation.
Mhm. Sometimes it's just enough to be like, why do you want to do that? And instead of assuming and just asking, you get an answer and then it makes sense. It's like, okay, that makes sense to you. I get it now, instead of being upset or like, oh, well, you were supposed to do this. I expected you to do this. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, it's my life.
Mhm.
It's a tough, tough thing. It's a tough rope to sort of walk. But like I said, the more that you step into your power and do those things that fuel you, that fill up your cup, the more you can continue to do that. And when people see that in you, they will appreciate that about you, and they will be happy for you. And if some people fall off too, and that's okay. I've had people fall off, and I was just like, I love you, but I need to love me first.
Mm-hmm.
So.
If I'm hearing you correctly, it's important to do what you want and what you love in life, what brings you happiness. And it sounds a bit cliche, though there's no cliche there. However, I think that in order to live a life with purpose, you need to take off all the masks. Am I hearing you correctly? You need to take off all these masks. Sometimes it could be the mask on the Saturday night where your friends are wanting you to drink and not get up for your workout in the morning, and you fall into that mask for too long on that night. Or it could be the mask where, you hell, in today's world, it could be the mask of, you don't believe in getting vaccinated for some reason, and you make up this story as to why you're going to get vaccinated when you actually truly don't want to get vaccinated because you're not ready to get vaccinated. Or the girlfriends and talking crap about other girls or whatever. Not to say it's girls, it could be the guys too, right? But you're talking crap with the girls, and that's not who you morally are. That's not who you want to be. So why are we being that person, right?
The answer that I'll give is, in that we all want a sense of belonging.
It's like we crave this belonging. I'm with you. We crave this belonging. Why do we crave this?
It's easier to throw away you to belong to a group. Because if you step out, and I step out, because you're really not stepping out, you're stepping in, then you lose that group for whatever reason. And it's a little bit scary. But then you'll find your people that work with you, and you just find that fulfillment because you're living in your truth. You're living in that alignment piece. Like your purpose just comes through that. Mm-hmm. But I hear you 100%. I call it shedding. I've been shedding these conditioned masks and ideas and personalities that I've created from the time I was born until 2017. Like 2017 was when I started just like, F it, I'm doing me. I don't care if you like it or not. I'm choosing to be happy, and this is what my happy is. In short, obviously, but yeah.
See, that's why I like you, and that's why you're on this show. And it's because you're you through and through, and you don't give a damn how people interpret what you say. Obviously, we're not here to, hurt anybody's feelings. But you strike fire in me too as I hear you speak, because I think about my favorite bosses, my best friends, the people that I want to model in my life. And now as I continue to get a little bit older, I'm finding I'm even getting sharper around this area. But for me, it's the people, and God damn it, it's the founder of Optimized Nutrition, Dave McCannon in Nanaimo. I think about him too. These people are so unique to them. Like this guy who's got dreams to go and buy, 30 acres down in Costa Rica and start this huge, sustainable eco environment where he can help produce local vegetables and produce and stuff, and you work with Canada, optimize everything down there. That, like, for most people in his life, I just suspect it's like, what the hell are you doing, man? You're crazy. But you know what? It's that idea. You're just being you, you're just being you. And I'm starting to be the same way. My friends, they'll hang up on me, but they'll call me back the next day. And they're like, man, you know what? I really appreciate the advice you gave me last night. I hated you at the time, but like I thought about it last night, and I had coffee this morning. And it's funny how I went from last night hating you to having coffee this morning and now wanting to thank you for the, what I needed to hear. It was what I needed to hear. And I appreciate you for being that guy, because I see it's how you live your life too. It's how Dennika lives her life as well. We're just we're on our path. We're on our journey. We're trying to be as honest to ourselves. Well, here we are. Shit, we're trying to help others live better lives and find more purpose, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, I went on it. The host sometimes is going to go on a tangent, but I credit you for getting me a little bit excited there.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So let's wrap it up around this idea, because you're right. We started with this when we opened up with segment one, talking about finding more intent, purpose, living with purpose, meaning we've talked about living life for yourself, tuning into yourself, hearing what's internal versus external in the world of clutter and everything. Let's talk about one thing. Why and how are so many of us guilty of manifesting stories in our lives that we tell our friends that are not true? Or one step further to give you a little bit more detail. I see it often where I hear people telling stories to their friends, or everyday just dialogue between two people, and I can see that within that conversation, if that one person were to then have a conversation with me, maybe that story changes again. And it's almost as if there's this story makeup that is constantly changing in a lot of people's lives, where they're trying to create the reality again, maybe to feel that belonging or that acceptance with that one person, rather than just owning who they are. Okay. Have you ever coached a client? If you haven't, it's okay, but I want to take on a real life situation where why what, do you see a connection there with purpose, finding your purpose, and how a lot of people are running away from their own purpose by just trying to almost tell like a multitude of stories throughout their day, going through 7 days a week and just telling all these different stories just to be accepted and fit in? Like, inspire us all, Dennika, is where I really want to go with this, on how we can cut that, bottom line, just cut
Yeah.
it. And though it might not be the one end all be all answer for everybody else,
I'll paint a
I've
quick picture, if
yeah,
if I may. So
please do.
basically, from the moment that we're born until about age 6 or 7, we're operating at a theta state, which is almost a hypnosis state. And in that, we're collecting every experience, everything that's said to us, and it's sticking within us. And the ones that we hear and experience the most, they become our deepest sort of whole, our deepest truth. So if you grow up in an environment typically, and it's an abusive, it's chaotic, and you're getting told all these mean, unkind, unloving things, and you experience mean, unkind, unloving things, you're eventually going to grow into this person who believes, I deserve to be treated poorly. You're going to treat yourself poorly, and you're going to live your life in a way creating those cycles. And when you do that, you're continuing to, the hole gets deeper, and that becomes more ingrained in you.
Mm,
Vice versa goes for happy go lucky. Like, you grew up, everything was great, parents were amazing, yada yada yada. You're gonna believe that life is great, and I'm deserving, I'm worthy of this, I'm worthy of that. And so when you get to this place in adulthood, and those holes are so deeply burned in you, you don't want to expose them, because when you expose them, then people can see the truth that you're hurt inside. And if you're hurt inside, then you're weak, or then they'll hurt me even more. So it's, how do I cover up this hole and make it look like everything's good? And that's when we have to, when you start to do the work, the self-discovery and the inner work, and really looking at yourself and what's true and what's not true, and looking at your holes, what's sitting in that hole, why is it there, why am I letting it be there? That's when you got to take all the dirt out, or the shit out, and then fill it with your own love. And so the reason why the way that I see it is, we just want someone to fill that hole for us. But even if somebody else fills that hole for us, as soon as they're gone, that hole's empty, because we haven't learned to fill it ourselves.
mhm.
So it's this weird, we need human connection. It's at the core of our being. But at the same time, if we don't connect with ourselves first, There's no way we can connect with another human being on a real level. That's where those stories sort of change person to person. That's how I see it. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's
No, I'm with you. Each step you took, I took alongside you on that. That's for
cool.
sure. Um, finish with this. Finish with this. And the questions get tougher, the conversation gets deeper, and we're about to transition here into segment 2 on Optimize Your Life, episode 3 here on YouTube, 14 on Instagram. Thank you, viewers, for being here with us tonight, getting something out of tonight. Super excited. Dennika here joining us from Nanaimo, BC, spreading value, spreading light here, and we're about to take this one step further here. But leave us with this. What are some practices day to day that maybe you use, or you would suggest people that are having a hard time waking up, feeling the fire and feeling motivated to go live a life for themselves, and as we've discovered, to help them find a purpose in life? What are some practices that somebody could wake up and start using tomorrow?
Huge. One of the biggest things is move your body. I don't care what that looks like. If you want to go to the gym, if you want to have a dance party in your bed as soon as you wake up, if you want to stretch. Like I used to tell people, every time you go to the bathroom, do 10 squats. Like move your body. And the reason why I say move your body is everything's energy. Okay. We are energy and we're all vibrating at different frequencies. The laptop that I'm using, it's an energetic frequency at its very, very core. And because your body is also energy, when you don't move it, things that you experience become stagnant, which affects the way that you feel and you think. But when you move your body, you allow those energies to move in and out and through you. So that's why I say I don't care what it is. Just move your body with intention. Go for a walk and don't be on your phone. Go do yoga. Literally have a dance part. I kid you not. On days where I'm just like, I'm in a funk, I just put on the music and I dance. I don't care what I look like because I'm by myself. There's no one here to judge me or like me be all weirded out. Like, just dance. Do what your body wants. Like it needs to get that energy flowing and moving. That's a huge, huge thing that I would say. And then another thing is honestly spend a minimum of 20 minutes within nature. Sure, things are pretty and you want to take pictures, take your pictures after. Spend those. I see so many people outside and they're just taking pictures and then walking away. I'm like, well, what was so beautiful about that you wanted to take a picture that you couldn't sit and admire and just look at it a little bit longer? Sure, the picture is great to go look at later, but there was something that you saw in that piece of grass or that tree that was just captivating to you for you to want to take that picture. Sit with it for a few more beats. Mm-hmm. Those are two huge things.
Is where you're going with this is that in becoming present in those two moments and those two exercises you share, you find that you start to become more present in life? Is that I just took a complete shot out of the dark there, but I'm just wondering, is that where you're going with that?
I wasn't really going, I just was answering from what you asked, but it does. It brings you into the present moment. It really does, because there's joy in it. And there is complete presence in it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like moving that stagnant energy within, like everybody knows it. Everybody talks about it. Oh, I don't want to go to the gym, or I don't want to do this. And then you go and you feel good after. Yes, there's endorphins. Yeah, we know that scientifically. But you've moved that stagnant energy from sitting at your desk all day, from sitting on the couch all day, from taking and sleeping all day because you've just been in a funk. Just move your body. Do this if you have to for 10 minutes. Like, who cares? It's energy.
I'm gonna figure out the audio cuts here on YouTube, and I promise that I'm gonna get move your body here as we transition from segment 1 to segment 2. It's gonna come in there. Move your body. I can hear it already. It's gonna be rocking. With about 15 minutes left here, I really want to
Mhm.
make sure that we have enough time. We went a little far and a little long on the talking about purpose, but guess what? There's
Yeah.
never too long, and there's never too much good information and conversation that can be had in life. So
Mhm.
let's talk about tying a couple things together here. Okay,
Okay.
mind, body, soul.
Mm.
I'm going to pretend I don't actually know anything about it. I don't think I do know anything about it really. I know that I know my mind, I know my body, and as a I'm pretty sure to be alive you have to have a soul. But let's tackle it. Let's be honest. Let's really get into it on
Mm.
what and how has that impacted your life as a life coach, and what are you doing, and why is there so much significance around this idea with the clients that you're working with?
Yeah.
Maybe we can start by just addressing what is mind, body, soul, and how do you relate to it?
Yeah, that's where it's gonna go. Basically, in short, is they're not separate things, but we talk about them like they are. Your body is the physical, your soul is the energy, and your mind is the thoughts that allow you to filter through life. And
Hmm.
so it's one cohesive unit. And the reason why I focus so much on connecting the three is because we've disconnected them. A lot of us are not living in our bodies physically.
Explain
We're
that.
sort of we're sort of on autopilot. So the spirit, the soul, which you want to call it, is kind of not being integrated into the body. You're just autopilot. We learn to just go about our days. But when you start to tune into your body, like, what am I actually feeling? Is it my stomach? Is it my heart? Is it a pain in my shoulder? When you start to tune in, then you're connecting those two. And then the mind is the thoughts that allow you to be understand it through words and to articulate sort of what's going on. And so the reason why it's important to me is when I started rolling out my muscles a lot, and it's a foam roller, like we all know what they are. That's when I started to sort of feel energy move through me in a sense where it would parts of my they would heat up, parts of my body would heat up, but then they would be parts of your body where you're holding on to emotions that you haven't processed. And then when I would do that, that's when I would get more of my spirit to work through me, that your intuition, your inner guidance, whatever word you want to call it.
Hmm.
And so I talked earlier about how I got that intuitive sort of hit of life coaching. That was when I was moving the energy through me, working through those emotions and articulating with myself through words like what was really going on and asking my questions, what do I want? So it's a cohesive unit and we often ignore one or the other. If you ignore your body, it doesn't allow the spirit to move through you, your soul to move through you. You ignore the mind, then you're on autopilot. Like I can't just like
No, I'm with you.
three,
I'm
they're
with
the
you.
same, it's like having a car with the spare tire on, like a
Yeah,
spare tire on it. Eventually it just craps out.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
When you look at the world today, how's that relative? How's it relate to people that are going about their everyday day-to-day lives? What do you see?
I see a lot of sadness and despair and people doing things because they think that they have to and because they're trying to fulfill an expectation that was placed on them by other people and society. I
Mhm.
see people not living their truth. I see people just hiding from themselves and just screaming to find their way back home is what I call it. Like, live your truth. You can tell when you're having an authentic conversation with somebody because it's an energy, it's a vibe. You can tell when it's off and that person isn't being truthful and it's just a transaction. Hi, how are you? Good, good. Okay, cool, thanks. Like there's no that person isn't there, and maybe you aren't either, and that's why it's like that. So yeah, I see a lot of sadness
You'd
and
find me a breath of
disconnect.
fresh air in the sales world, I think, because I try and crack those people. I'm going to take you through a real life scenario here, real quick, a little bit off script, but in the sales world, it's, hey, how are you doing today? And it's
Mhm.
that same old, good, good, how are you? And you know what's funny? It's sometimes I get that customer where it's, hey, how are you today? And they say, I'm just looking. And then I stop and I say, guess what? I'm just actually asking you how you're doing. And it's funny how
Mm.
it's like we're so the two, you bring it back to the idea of autopilot. I think that's what I've always loved about sales. It's not necessarily the product I'm selling. It's just I want to be that guy who's having honest connection. And you know what? If I can help you find what you need to buy and provide some education that I'm being paid to give you and help you out with, then that's awesome. But more importantly, I just look at it as like sales is an awesome opportunity to connect with people, get to truly have some good conversations with strangers, and you never know where that's going to take you in life. I just, something about that excites me. But I've always found it a big slap on the wrist when it's like, hey, how are you today? And there's obviously genuine sincerity in my voice, and they say, I'm just looking. And then I have to hit them with it, Dennika. Well, I'm just asking you how you're doing, and maybe you could tell me a little bit about your day. You know what I
People
mean?
aren't
So
used to that, so that's a blessing that you're doing that. That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, yeah,
We
for
need
sure.
more of that, Dylan, in the world.
Well, I'm gonna try and give everything I got until I'm not here
Mm.
no more. But I have to say that. Why do you think, like for a lot of people when they hear mind, body, soul, it's let's just put it this way. If I were to headline this show with, hey, let's find out a bit more about your mind, body, and soul, or if I were to say, tune into yourself, people run away from it. They wouldn't even want to
Mm.
look at this video. And guess what? It's a shame because and why do you think that is? Well, I can't say
That
because. I don't have the because to that. I'm hoping you can tell me why in your studies and
because
your practices.
there's how do I condense? When you have to tune into yourself, you have to tune into all of it, the light and the dark. The dark is a shitty, shitty place to be. And it's painful and it hurts. And when you go there, it's scary and it's daunting. But you can't have the light without the dark. And when you connect with yourself, it's facing those dark parts of yourself, allowing yourself to acknowledge them and be there, process them, accept them, and then still live with them so that they're not impacting you as much. People don't want to go there. It's painful because you have to face those parts of yourself that you don't accept, that other people, you think other people won't accept, but we all have them. So it's like, oh, I'm not going to connect with myself. I love myself. Everything's great. Well, really, when you have a deep conversation with somebody, is that really, really true? When you can you sit and stare at yourself in the mirror, like look into your own eyes and see yourself without crying? There's this speaker, and I apologize, I forget who the speaker is, but very popular person, and they go around and they have talk shows, or I don't know what the words are. And at the start of it or the end, they said, find someone beside you, and I just want you to look into the person's eyes and don't say anything. And they did that for I think 5 to 10 minutes. And when it was done, you look around the room, every single person was crying.
Is it Tony Robbins?
He may or may not. I think it was a female. It may have been,
Brene Brown?
it could have been Brene Brown or Abraham Hicks.
Okay.
I, or maybe all of them, or maybe even Rebecca Campbell. I can't remember, but, and it's true because you ever notice when you're looking at someone in their eyes and it's just a beat too long, they look away because
Oh
that's
yeah.
when you're starting to see the truth of the person. That's when it gets deep. You don't have to say anything.
Wow. I've never taken to those heights before with respect to eye contact, but
Mm.
that's actually rather interesting to think about. So
People
you're
look
saying that
away. Yeah.
how you interpret that, like for instance, if I'm in an interaction with somebody or you're in an interaction, does the environment doesn't matter?
Not really.
So take me through it. If I me if me and you are having a conversation and one of us is the first to break eye contact, what's that? How do you interpret that? Or is it different person to person, situation to
It's
situation?
so the thing, like, look, I just looked away because I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So there's a process of thinking, but if you're in a deep conversation and it goes along with awkward silence too, and it's not awkward, but we think it's awkward because as soon as something is silent, people get uncomfortable and want to fill it. And then that's where the eye contact comes in too. So you're looking at someone, you've just said something really, really profound or shared something really deep or personal or vulnerable, and you
Mhm.
look away. That's when you know either that person is feeling vulnerable or they're feeling shameful and they don't want to feel that, because the more you're looking into somebody's eyes, the deeper that connection goes, because then you even start to see what, like, their pain and your pain. You see yourself in the other person.
Wow.
And yeah, a simple looking away, like right now I'm thinking, is different than,
That's a typical social cue of
yeah.
somebody in thought. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But
I'm
then
with
there's
you.
a silence piece too, is like sometimes things go silent. And as soon as it's a little bit too long, someone will say something because they can't sit in the silence. Because as soon as you start to sit in the silence a little bit, you're also then sitting with yourself.
Hmm. It's funny how as little kids we would uh, you wouldn't even obviously your brain hasn't processed to that point or to that extent, but you'd never even have that moment. There would never even be that, right? Where you would feel like life is such a burden or you have so much weight on your shoulders that you would ever get to the point where you can't sit with yourself. Because when you look at kids, they're happy, they're laughing, they're smiling, they're doing everything that we're supposed to do. We're hardwired to be those creatures our whole lives. But all the
Mm-hmm.
externals and all the pressures and all the other crap that comes with it, it's like we disassociate with ourselves so much to the point where I'm with you on that. And I'm hearing some people here tonight that are, well, I'm hearing them in their own areas tuned in with us tonight, that maybe it got just uncomfortable there, to sit and listen to that, because you start to sit like, wow, I'm sitting here watching this myself and I can't even hear two people speak on that because it's so uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And it's okay. I tell people, sit in your shit, feel every last bit of it, and then clean it up. Because if you sit in it too long, you're not going to be able to smell it anymore. You need
That's
to
it.
sit in it.
There's an
You,
analogy. Yeah.
I can't take credit for the last bit. It won't stop smelling. I read that somewhere, but I've said for a very, very long time, just sit in it. As tough as, just feel it, hug yourself, hold, do whatever you need to do, feel what it is that you need to feel, because that's how you let it release too. It's uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but it's so good, and it's okay.
Yeah.
And only do it when you're ready.
I'm going to build off that because I believe in life. It's fitting to say this, Dennika, but you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
If you want to grow in life, if you want to be different than where your 2 feet are in today, if you want to be better at fitness, if you want to be a better boyfriend, husband, girlfriend, you know, anything in life, friend, colleague, better at your job, you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Go where that fear is, go where you can, feel a little awkward and unusual, because that's where you're going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
That same old person that's going to wake up tomorrow and that's going to crawl out of their bed and is just going to go and do all the same things they've done for the last 5 years of their life and work that same job and take that same paycheck and say, that person is going to be there for their whole life. And isn't that sad to think about?
It's sad if they don't really want it.
It's
Yeah.
sad if they don't really want it. It's
Yeah.
sad if they don't really want it, because and I mean, I don't know this, but you got to want things for yourself. You know what? You can hire the best life coaches in the world, but if you can't take intent to action for yourself, you're never going to get there. You have to, you know what I
There's
mean?
yeah, there's a sense of personal responsibility.
Personal responsibility.
And no matter, like you said, at the end of the day, like with my coaching, I don't do the work for you. I'm there to help facilitate so that you can find, I'm very big on finding the answers within. My
Yeah.
coaching sessions are very much focused around, I listen to what you're saying and I listen to what you're not saying. And I ask the question so you can find those answers within.
Yeah.
And people sit in their shit on my calls all the time, and it's great. And I hold that space for them so they can do it. But you're right. Yeah. There's personal responsibility is huge. If you don't want it, you're not going to get it. If you want it, you'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, before we wrap up, let's just take this in for a second. I'm going to give you a mic, hypothetically, and you're going to get an opportunity as my third guest here on YouTube to wrap up the show and to speak to what you think truly matters about finding your purpose and what truly matters about why the underlying significance of mind, body, soul all being aligned together, and you're aware of that, is so important. And I'm going to let you wrap it up. I don't need you to end the call. I don't need you to do anything like that. But I want, for me, I'm just a host. I'm a guy in a flamingo shirt. I like having fun. I like connecting with great people. And, I've really enjoyed tonight's show. And often I wrap it up and I do my thing, but I want you to take just the significance within what we've talked about, kind of recap it, chew it up, digest it, and spit it out one more time as to what you think we should take from tonight's show.
I'm gonna say, start embodying the fact that you are the most important person in your life. And if you can't do that, think about somebody who you love dearly, that you treat like they're the most important person in their life. Take what it is that you do for that person and start doing it for yourself. And that's where you'll start to gain a little bit of momentum. That's when you'll bring in the pieces of you that you're hiding from. That's when you'll really start to feel love and connection to yourself. And in that process, you'll be guided with your inner guidance system to where it is that you're supposed to be, what you came here to do, what your purpose is. That inner guidance system, it's very quiet at first, but it's there, and it's always leading you and guiding you. It's never going to make sense logically, ever, ever, ever. But when you feel the pull, just pull it, listen to it a little bit, and trust that you know exactly what you need to know, that you are literally the most important person. You have everything that you need inside.
I love it.
Yeah. I don't know how to digest it. That was my
No.
cat.
Your cat doesn't even know how to digest it.
It's talk to people that align with you. Take what resonates from this and leave the rest. Sit with it. Journal. What did you like from this? What did you not like from it? Okay, take what you liked. Why didn't you like what you didn't like? Figure out that.
Dennika, where do we find more of you? Where are you on Instagram? Where are you on, as a host, the least I can do of somebody of your caliber is at least allow people to know where they can find a little bit more about where you're at, potentially someone that maybe is screaming for help and needs help, needs somebody to coach them, listen to them, whatever it may be. Where are you?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and I have a website. Any one of those are perfectly fine. It's Dennika Sharan. So Dennikasharan on both platforms. My website is dennikasharan.com. If you just reach out, I will respond. It's that simple. I don't have like a book a calendar time with me. Like, I don't do it that way. I want to connect with you. I want to get to know you. So send me a DM or a personal message. If you go on my website, it will direct you to send me an email. And I don't bite. I'm not like, and you won't find very much sort of marketing within my stuff. I don't do marketing. And I'm okay with that. And yeah, just DM me or personal message me. whatever works for you.
Mhm.
I'll talk to you.
I'll post it in the comment section below as well. Before we wrap up, I personally would like to thank you for your time, for hanging out with me for an hour and 15 minutes here or so on a lovely Thursday night here up in Canada. For those who aren't up here in Canada, I definitely, it's awesome to be able to get the opportunity to connect with people like you. I thank you for your presence and more your attention to the depth of our conversation and for being able to take what I know aren't easy questions and aren't easy ways that I like to bring conversation forth, but you were able to tackle that, and you were able to shine a light on something that is very important, and I don't think often enough gets brought to the light that it should, talking about living with purpose and obviously understanding some of the deeper meanings there. So as the host of Optimize Your Life, I personally want to thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I'm just so grateful that I was able to share this and this experience in this hour and a bit with you. Like, that was it was beautiful. So thank you. And thank you to everyone watching too. I appreciate you spending the time with us later on.
That's awesome. That's the awesome thing about doing this, is that more and more people, they can watch it for the rest of the time. It'll be posted on YouTube here, posted on Instagram. So guys, if you haven't already, like, subscribe our channel, Optimizenutrition.ca. We're on Instagram, Optimizenutrition.ca. Let us know what you think. Welcome comments on, anything we can do to help you out, help you ultimately optimize your life. That's what the show is all about. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring on high caliber guests. I'm trying to raise the bar every week and bring on another guest that can match the last one. As I tried to say in the beginning of the show and kind of fell through, but I'm still learning too myself. And nonetheless, I mean, we're humans. We gravitate to mistakes. We live, we learn, and we all get better in everything we do, right? But you got to try, and you got to try and help yourself. So I mean, I think it's fitting to end on that, and I think it's fitting to just say thank you. And guys, Dennika shared all of her stuff, so if you want to see more of her, I highly encourage you, go see what she has to offer. Like she said, not a lot of marketing there, but definitely a ton of just good quality content. I've seen her Instagram myself, and it's, when I'm on there, I feel like I'm like surrounded, like just submerged actually, and like very good content and just good stuff for my mind. So Dennika, thank you. Have a great night, and thank you for joining Optimize Your Life. Oh, we'll throw the hearts out there. Awesome.
Always.
Yes. Take care, Dennika.
You too. Thanks.